All right, how's everyone doing? I am Rich Celenza. Thanks for checking out the Rich Celenza Show. So, what I'm going to call this podcast is I'm Sick of the Pitch. Now, this probably has nothing to do with you necessarily. This really has to do with me and what I kind of went through as far as always having, I guess not always, but for the last, 22, 23 years, having a pitch down when it came to things that I was creating. And not only am I sick of me having a pitch, I'm sick of other people's pitch, especially when it's a lot of bullshit or it's a lot of the same things everybody else is kind of doing. You may go through this, even on LinkedIn, hypothetically, you may get tons of emails if you're on there with people with the same pitch, how they're going to help you, how they're going to change your company for the better, what they can do for you, all these different types of things, which is wonderful. You may get this with spam emails. You may even get this just talking to people in general that you meet. And, one thing I'm going to get into, let's go back to when I was making my films. They were always like, when you're creating something, people always want to know what you're doing, which is understandable. You have to be able to explain who you are, what you're doing, right? And what probably you're going to also be doing in the future, which is understandable, right? When you have a film, they want to know, the backstory, who wrote it, who produced it, what it's about, what's your next project, you as a person, how did you come to be a filmmaker, all these different types of things. And when you're doing interviews, you got to really know what you're talking about, being on point. Same with when I was creating my books, and then I was creating a clothing line, and then a program, and all these different things. And when I was in LA, I had friends that would actually teach other people. They were actually coaches on how to help you kind of almost become a celebrity to a certain degree, or how to pitch your ideas or what you're doing and keep it interesting, keeping it short. And I'll tell you the truth, after a while, all that shit exhausted me. I honestly despised it. I remember I went in I got interviewed for a radio. I think it was my second film. It might have been in Rockford, Illinois. They said, hey, come out, we'd like to interview you. And I went there. What was interesting is this was a college student interview for their college radio station, which I thought was awesome. I'm like, yeah, this is cool. So I go there. The thing was, he was hitting me with so many different questions that I loved. And at that time, I was actually creating a graphic novel based on my film, which never got completed because someone stole all my stuff. But nonetheless, he knew I was creating a graphic novel, and I was also creating a video game based on it. And this is in the early 2000s, before Spider-Man, really, really early 2000s, maybe late 1990s, when not a lot of people were doing this, and I was doing this as an independent filmmaker. And what I loved was he was asking me all different types of questions, because every time I'd meet somebody, I don't care if it was, for a radio, for a newspaper, a magazine, or just at a film festival, or just in general, it's the same questions. And it's almost like I don't have to say the same answer, but they're kind of almost the same answer. I can't switch it up to the point where it's kind of, lost. But after that, I never looked at like things the same. And I've always wanted, and I even go through this now with people want me to be on their podcast, or I've been interviewed for other people's shows, YouTube shows, their own television thing, YouTube channels, all these things. And a lot of times they'll hit me up and say, Rich, can you send me the questions you want asked? And I literally, if you know anything about me for the most part, sometimes I'll say, well, you can ask me these, a few, but I don't want you to know what. I really don't know what I want you to ask. I want you to ask what you're interested in. But I also tell them, ask me anything. Because I think when it comes to life, just discussions, the less I know about what I'm going to be asked or who's going to be asking me, the more I think it's authentic. I think so many things back to the pitch have become so not genuine that it exhausted me. And even if I had a bunch of podcasts too, right? A bunch of people on for a couple months. I want to interview some of the, my closest family members, friends, and colleagues, and people that are very unique to me. And all of them are like, Rich, can you send me the questions first? I said, no. I said, we're going to have a discussion. They're like, well, would you mind asking me this and this? And I said, of course I can ask you that question if you want me to, and I will. But I said, just so you know, this is really just going to be as authentic as possible. I don't know where it's going to go. I have no idea. And if you want to ask me questions as well. And for me, that works. because I just can't take the phoniness anymore. Even if, and I don't mean the bum rap television, but if you watch a lot of late night television, they're sitting at a desk and they're questioning each other. It's just set up. And I understand there sometimes has to be some type of platform where, I ask you a question because they're going to show you a clip. It's got to be 2 minutes long and you already know, and it's funny. I have a funny story. I get all that. But I'm just saying from my point of view, I just need to be authentic. I can't stand the pitch shit. And I think what's happening with me a lot, even with different people within the industry, going back and forth with them, I tell them, and I think it almost sets them off, or they're actually in shock that not only do I don't want to pitch to you, I don't want to hear your pitch. I want to know something about you that nobody else may have ever heard before. And that's kind of for myself as well. I just want to keep things interesting in my life. And that's kind of why I do these podcasts, because I try to come up with subject matters, one that I've never heard before, or people talking about, or I've heard maybe somebody say one thing about them. Yeah, so I am going to wrap it up with this. If you are somebody out there, hold on, let me get some water here. If you're somebody out there who truly, I think, wants to stand out, because I'm always talking about being unique. I talk about it in my books. I talk about it just in life in general. If you want to stand out, you got to be unique. That doesn't mean you have to be eccentric or insane or go crazy and do these things to get all this attention. But if you want to be somebody, I believe, that's unique, you got to make yourself interesting. And a lot of people don't want to hear that. They want to kind of follow the same suit as everyone else or do things always by the book. I get it. But I'm just here to tell you, if you're somebody who is sending, very, what's the word I'm looking for? Generic emails, putting up generic information online, or just, if you want to start your own business, I'm not here to tell everybody how to run their own business. But if you kind of are somebody who's just written or verbal, kind of has a boring pitch or the same thing over and over and over again, not only for weeks, months, or years, people aren't going to want to listen to you after a while. I'm just telling you, the more you have to offer and the more genuine I think it is, and also the more unique it is, and you also being able to talk about, a lot of things, not just who you are and what your product is or what you're pitching. Because I think after a certain amount of time, it's just exhausting. But I do understand if you're at a convention, you're at, or you're somewhere, I get it. If you own a retail store or you have a certain business, people come in and you got to pitch your product. I get it. You do what you have to do. But I'm just telling you, if you're somebody out there too who's kind of caught in a loop, and I think a lot of people are in that loop, break out of that loop a little bit. Try to experiment with a lot of different things, including your pitch. And I wouldn't even, personally, I think, again, too many people memorize a pitch. And you could just tell it's full of shit a lot of times, or they have a certain type of email like that they send out. You can see it very quickly, like a template email. That gets sent out to everybody. When they do videos, it's almost the same. Even the YouTubers and all of them, even if they have a lot of followings, God bless you. But if I see that they keep talking about the same thing over and over again, keep trying to convince you, and maybe that works for them. But I'm just telling you, for me, it doesn't. And I think a lot of people out there don't want to say it, but they're kind of sick of that format. So, anyways, that's all I got for you. I'm sick of the pitch. I'm sick of my pitch. I just think it's time for everybody to be a little more unique. That's just, again, my opinion. All right. Take care, and I wish you nothing but the best.